The New Jersey Real Estate Show is brought to you by the law offices of Joseph C. Petriello, located in Wayne, New Jersey. To contact them, call 973-890-7262. That's 973-890-7262. Are you purchasing or refinancing a home? Do you need a free same-day pre-approval? Then call Dean Scaduto from Coldwell Banker Home Loans at 201-322-3456. That's 201-322-3456. Are you an expert in your field?
Do you want your voice to be heard?
Maybe you have a great idea for a show but don't know how to do it.
Well, we can make it happen.
Email the New Jersey Podcast Guys at NJPodcastGuys@gmail.com. If you're looking to buy or sell a home in New Jersey, contact our Coldwell Banker office in Wayne at 973-694-8000 or call Tim direct at 973-865-0249. You can also visit his website at www.homesinwaynenj.com. Tim's promise to you and your family is to provide you with exceptional real estate service while always working to exceed your expectations. And remember, at Coldwell Banker, we never stop moving. Welcome to the New Jersey Real Estate Show. Now, here are your hosts, Tim Waller and Matt Josephs.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New Jersey Real Estate Show. I'm Tim Waller, your host, and sitting to my immediate left is my co-host, Matt Josephs, also known as the Voice of Reason.
Thank you, Tim.
We have a great show today, Matt. It's a continuation of you and Dean completing our discussion on the importance of the home buyer consultation and why it's essential that the buyer interviews and finds the right real estate agent that they both like and trust. Yeah. Our guest from last week is back with us, Dean Peterson, and he's here to continue his discussion with Matt, which was a very, very back and forth discussion, I might add.
Very intense.
So it's my pleasure once again to introduce to our listeners, Dean Peterson. Dean, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Tim.
Well, look, last week, Matt and you went back and forth. Matt kind of told you his needs for what he was looking for, whether they were realistic or unrealistic. I have the mindset they were a little unrealistic.
Well, sure, but that was the challenge.
First home.
Absolutely,
it's good. Works.
Absolutely, because a lot of times, first-time home buyers they really don't know the process. They really, really don't.
Well, they also have no idea what they should be asking for and like what is available out there and their price range.
And what I find even more fascinating is you can talk to a buyer that's already seen 10 other realtors.
Yeah,
and the knowledge they have is
not there. Yeah. Because the realtors aren't working hand in hand with them.
They're showing homes. It basically comes down to they're just showing homes. They unlock the lockbox, and that's their job.
Right. Okay.
For instance, if you came to me and said, Tim, I want you to show me a home, and I showed you a home, you were looking at $500, but I didn't ask you the right questions, and I showed you that house for $500, and you fell in love with it, and then we went to get you pre-approved, only to find out you only qualify for $400. Mm-hmm. Well, then for me to go out and try to sell you on a $400,000 house is going to be that much more difficult because your taste now is in the $500,000 price range.
Right.
So as real estate professionals, it's our job to guide you accordingly to help you make the most informed decision we possibly can help you make.
Okay.
Because you get one shot at it.
Exactly.
And it's not something that you're going out and you're doing every day.
No.
I'm spending $300,000-$400,000 a day.
I wish I could, but I'm not. Yeah.
So that's why we bring people in on a consultation. We want them to feel comfortable.
We have to share the information, right? It comes down to communication.
Yeah.
It comes down to being able to say, you have to trust. I trust that you're going to give me an honest answer, and that answer, no matter what it is, I have to try to fulfill that request or need or readdress, right? Where you come in with an expectation that's, at $500,000, I need to, in a clear but professional manner, be able to take, look, you're looking at too much house, right? Don't forget, you want it to be at $2,000 a month. You want it to be at, in the areas you're looking. We need to tweak your wants and needs a bit, right? I know there's no such thing as a house that's $200,000 sitting in Fort Lee, New Jersey, with 5 bedrooms, right, and a brand new granite kitchen. There's just not there. So the expectations where you come in starry-eyed and ready to go, and you say, "I just was pre-approved and I'm ready." I'm gonna ask the questions, but at the same time, I'm gonna make sure that we're in the right direction. Because you could look at Zillow for 3 years and think you're buying a house when you're really not. You know, online is great, but you required to have a realtor. I think trying to do it any other way without someone who has experience in the home buying process and be able to protect you as a buyer is nothing. You know, I've heard it, Matt. I've heard it where, you know, clients say, "I like to deal with the seller's agent." You know, there's a great conversation. It's sometimes not best to deal with the seller's agent when you're buying that agent's listing.
So you're saying the buyer wants to deal with the seller's agent?
That's correct. So a buyer's agent, there's a difference, right? There's a seller's agent, there's a buyer's agent. The listing agent / seller's agent is contractually bound to protect and manage the sale of that client, right? Of the seller.
The seller.
So you as a buyer come in, their fiduciary regard is first to the seller. It's supposed to be 50-50, and by real estate ethics in the state of New Jersey, it really should be. But it's hard to, and it's been written time and time again, it's really difficult to be able to say, okay, I know proprietary information about the seller, and now I need to know information about the buyer, what their budget is, what their max budget is. You know, when they make an offer, do I have to keep that in mind in my head and not share that with either party?
I mean, it sounds to me like I'm a defendant defending myself, and I'm asking the prosecutor for legal advice.
That's correct.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would people come in and say they want to do that?
That was just written up. That article just out a month ago.
That's weird.
Bank rate.
Now I'm going all the way back to episode 1.
Okay.
In the beginning,
All right.
which was a kind of slipped through the cracks. The first thing that we need to do for a buyer is go over agency.
Okay.
What capacity are we working with you as far as a buyer's agent, a disclosed dual agent? We have to disclose that to you, and you have to have a full understanding of our representation.
Okay. Wait, did you say dual agent?
Yes.
What's that?
Simply, all right, we would be a buyer's agent and a disclosed dual agent if that opportunity presented itself. And
okay.
Simply what that means is because we're licensed with Coldwell Banker, if you didn't allow us to work in that capacity, a buyer's agent and a disclosed dual agent, if the opportunity presents itself, it would preclude us from showing you any of Coldwell Banker's listings.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay? So I just wanted to clear that.
Okay.
Continue.
So, thank you, Mr. Wolf.
Overruled.
Nice. You have a better mic than I have.
Objection.
So
That's the sexy mic.
Sustained.
I know. It's deserved. So
Well, he brought up about being a defendant in court.
Oh, he did, and that was
And
dead
now
on,
he's the
Matt.
judge.
That was dead on.
Thank you.
So
You're welcome.
It's not. It happens every day where a buyer will come in. They'll come into an open house, and the agent in that house, they come off of Zillow, right? They come walking in, and they go, "Oh, this is the house. I can't wait to talk to somebody about it. How do I buy this?" So you basically have a buyer who would go on Zillow, find a house, go down to the open house on a Sunday afternoon, bright and shiny. First time they're seeing it, they've been earmarking it for a week. She's been staring at it. He's been staring at it. They walk in together, and they meet the agent who has the open house. Which, if it's the agent who had the listing, you're meeting the agent representing the seller.
Okay.
Right? You are legally and ethically, that agent is to protect both parties at this point. If it starts to become a negotiation,
How do you do that, though?
it is difficult, right? It is not impossible because it's supposed to be done every day.
You walk a fine line, and I'll give you for instance. If I know, let's say the seller's asking $500,000 for the house, and they're willing to take $475,000, it's very difficult.
It sounds. It doesn't sound like it should go together. I mean, like what?
No, because you have a fiduciary position of trust now to both seller and buyer.
Right.
So, what the seller has told me in confidence must remain in confidence, just as the buyer told me this in confidence. That has to stay in confidence.
So that doesn't make any sense to me, because now I know. So the buyer offers $300,000, let's say. I know that they want $375,000, but they'll take.
How would you know they want $375,000?
Because I'm the seller's agent.
Oh, I thought you were the buyer.
Yeah, you got to.
No.
No, hold
No,
on,
I'm
hold on.
stepping out of my character.
Right, don't.
Okay.
Please do.
All
you
right.
can be the seller, right?
Let me be the seller's
ahead.
agent.
Who's on first?
I'm the seller's agent.
Okay.
Somebody comes to me at an open house.
But you're not licensed.
They love the house. But in this world, in this imaginary scenario, I am.
Okay.
You can be.
Yes.
Because anybody can be.
Okay.
Go.
You can be anything you want.
That's correct.
It's my world. All right. Somebody comes to me, says, we're asking $350, but I've told them, I don't know if you can get $350 for this.
You're thinking a different number. You're thinking $325.
I'm thinking you can get $325. Somebody comes into me, says
Into your open house.
Into my open house, says we love this house. We saw it on Zillow.
Buyer without an agent.
Buyer without an agent. I want to make an offer for $312.
You got it. What's next? You're gonna,
Well,
as
what?
the seller's agent, you're gonna go, well, I think it's around $325. How do I put this together?
Well, yeah. How do I put this together? Or I guess what I'm trying to do in my head is create a situation where like the seller's agent would be like, "Oh, we really got him," even though it's not necessarily a good deal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, trying to put them between a rock and a hard place. So the situation I just came up with really isn't doing that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what is a hard situation for that agent to be in?
It comes down to one simple word: ethics. It comes down. You can, and there's plenty of transactions that occur where a listing agent becomes the buyer's agent.
Right.
There are plenty.
Okay.
But it is something that is still, because you know both parties' detailed information, and I'm, beyond the salary or where you're moving or anything, you know
Right.
the numbers that you're talking about in a house, and how you manage that information is
Right.
what brings you to a dual agency. It's not a bad thing. It's something that just requires, it's probably, if you think about it, just better to be represented by your own. In a case you use with the plaintiff and the defendant,
Right.
It's probably best to be represented by your own
attorney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So a buyer's agent would be someone who is working for you exclusively.
Right.
Wouldn't that be better?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would feel more comfortable as the buyer to have my own agent.
Right.
Now, so what I'm trying to, or what I'm gleaning from what you're saying through this episode and the last episode, is that you think of an agent for a movie star or a musician or some famous person, right? They act as a career counselor, as well as a guy who hooks them up with jobs, right?
Right.
They say, no, we need to do this with your career and everything like that. Really, that's what a real estate agent should also be doing for whoever he or she is representing.
It's one
right?
thing. Always looking out for the best interest of your client.
Not, yeah. I mean, I don't mean like, giving them career advice, but I'm saying in the process of getting a home or selling a home, the agent needs to be, holding your hand and not just showing houses to people. That's not what an agent does. They don't just show houses.
They have to guide you the whole way.
Right.
Let's back up again.
All right.
All right. Dean is a listing agent at an open house.
Okay.
Matt, you just went to his open house.
Right.
The asking price for this house is $400. You as the buyer, Matt, you think it's worth, and you want to start your offer at $350. We'll take it from there.
Okay. I'd love to offer you $350 for this place.
So I put it on the contract for you. Thanks a lot, Mr. Customer. I'll bring it to my client, the seller, and we'll see where we can put this together.
Okay.
Right? So now,
So you don't say anything. I'm sorry. You don't say any, like, you don't try to do any negotiating or anything.
No, my job
Even
is to
though
present, right,
okay.
and position. So that offer goes to my seller. I turn around to you now. I call you the next day and I go, hi, Matt, listen, my client can't do that number. They came back and countered at $360,000.
Okay.
Here's the problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not the number. It's now I'm negotiating for both parties.
Okay.
I know your number, right, was $350.
Right.
I know after inquiring, it's not as easy as just walking in and saying, I'm just going to give you a number. I might, play with that a little bit, but at the same time, I'm not going to know that that's the number you want.
That the
Right.
seller wants.
That's the seller wants.
Right, okay.
So I know information that was on both parties. I know the buyer's side and the seller's side. So it's
Right.
one person negotiating, knowing where the bottom is for the seller and where the bottom is for the buyer.
Okay.
Right? Isn't that a little bit of conflict at
It
times?
sounds like that to me. I mean, but people do mediate between two parties.
Absolutely.
On
I do
various
it. I do
things.
it. Tim does it, but it's not the most comfortable position because there's always one party that says, "Are you working for me?" I mean, it happens every transaction that we do with dual agency. Who are you working
Well,
for?
okay, so I'm a buyer, right? And this is what's going on. And I get to the point where I say, "Are you working for me?" What do you say? You say, "No."
The
seller had me first.
I have a fiduciary responsibility to both parties, 100% to support, and
And I can't give either one an unfair advantage over the
Correct.
other.
I mean, it sounds humanly impossible. Like, I'm sure that, most people are good and decent about it and everything like that, but it just sounds like an awful position to put an agent in.
It can be an uncomfortable position,
Yeah.
absolutely. But if I know that they're going to take your $350, but they're telling me counter at $360, and I know that you'll pay $360, but you're saying,
Right.
well, I only go up to $355.
See, that's what I was trying to get at before, like a situation like that.
You have to play that straight as an arrow. You have to, whatever you're instructed to do, that's what you do.
Okay.
Ethical, solid agents, which they're the majority of,
Right.
are excellent, solid, ethical agents will do that. There's some that you have to realize probably,
Of course. There's always a few bad apples. Yeah.
So dual agency, it comes down to a buyer's agent and a first-time home buyer's agent is someone who is deer in the headlights, right? They've maybe, I've met many a client who come in and say, I've spoken to so many agents. I've spoken to 6, 7, and they come back and say, you took the time. You understood my needs. You asked the questions. We've never had these questions asked before.
Right. Okay. So, how often, would you say though that you're in that position as the dual agent?
If I have a listing,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it could be any time I have a listing. It could be.
But I mean, let's say in the last year, how often has that happened? Is that a very common thing, or is it usually you're working for one or the other?
you're working for the one or the other.
Okay. I mean, I couldn't.
Yeah, because most buyers feel comfortable having their own agent representing their interest.
Yeah.
But again, remember when they sign that disclosed dual agency agreement, they're signing understanding that you're representing both parties.
Okay.
But you're not supposed to give anyone an unfair advantage over the other.
But I'm sure after a while, let's say the buyer thinks that you're their agent, and then they start that who you working for stuff.
Yes.
And that's why it's so important that you find an agent that's knowledgeable, that you like and you trust, and you ask them to help you fulfill the American dream in finding a home.
Yeah, I never realized that it was as I guess as in depth as it really is. I mean, I knew on the red tape side and all that stuff it is, but just who you go with, going with any agent off the street is not necessarily a good idea.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, unless
it's
luck out.
Look,
and find a good one.
you're about to embark on making one of the largest decisions you probably will ever make in your lifetime, and you don't want to entrust that to just anyone.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that the individual you hire is someone you like and trust, and you believe they're the best qualified to help you fulfill your dreams. Mm-hmm. In this business, referrals are a lifeline.
Yeah.
And if you don't do right by someone, you will never see any business from their sphere of influence. And word of mouth advertisement is the best advertisement you can ask for, and it costs absolutely nothing. So our best testimony is when clients take the time and write personal recommendations why they should use a particular agent's real estate services. That's the highest compliment someone can receive.
Yeah. Word of mouth is the best.
Yes. So after these episodes, Matt, did you learn anything about the home buying process?
It's one of those, the more I know, the less I understand type of things, I just learned that when I'm actually ready to start looking to buy a house, I definitely have to do my homework with who the agent is.
That's important.
Before I even bother looking at houses and
there's four key players in any successful real estate transaction, and you want to have a real estate attorney lined up. You want to have a mortgage or bank for your financing lined up.
Right.
You want to have a good, reputable home inspection company lined up, and first and foremost, you want that point man or point girl, a good, qualified real estate agent that you've interviewed and that you both like and trust.
Now, you say go to all those other people first and then find the agent, or go to the agent who recommends people? Find the agent first.
Find the agent, but you want to have the other three key elements in place, because if you find the right home and you make an offer on it, you want to know that you have an attorney in place.
No, yeah. But I'm asking, am I getting the agent before all those other guys, or am I getting the other guys first and then go and find my agent?
I would get the agent first,
Right.
and then I'd get your pre-approval, and then I would line up a home inspector and an attorney, and the agent's going to take you out looking at houses. Hopefully, you find the right one.
I think the real estate agent has become second to Zillow, Trulia. I mean, when you shop for a house anymore, you don't require an agent from the start, right?
Right.
So when you said you had moved when you were, 7, right?
Yeah.
Right? So you were young.
We had to go to an agent.
Right. So the MLS was in a book.
Right.
Your parents knew nothing about what was out there. They knew nothing about the product. They were required to have an agent, and they didn't take their own car with a GPS. They hopped in the car with the agent. And the agent took them to see X amount of homes.
Yeah, I remember getting a 3-ring binder that they had with black and white photocopies of, I guess, the MLS, and the pictures were this big. They were these tiny little things.
Size of a quarter.
They were smaller than a driver's license, and black and white, because it was a photocopy.
Right.
But
that MLS book was like gold. It was it was sacred to the real estate agent. You could never get a hold of it. Right.
No, yeah.
Today, all the information's there, so people realize, and this is probably part of the changing, how to buy a house. I can't see ever. I had this comment or a question come up the other day was, how long does it until you're not needed? Right. I think we'll always be needed.
I was going to ask you though, because remember travel agents?
Yeah.
And where are they now?
You can buy a flight for $200 online. That's
Online,
okay.
yeah.
You'd be okay with that.
No. Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that do you feel, or is there like talk of or fear in the realtor world?
Well, here
that
cars are being sold on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
You can go buy it. Soon it's going to be something that they just bring the car to you, test drive it, you buy it. You don't need a car salesperson.
Right.
At the same time, a real estate transaction has a little bit too much regarding
too much paperwork,
legal,
and,
right? Legal parameters, and in a state like New Jersey where it's buyer beware. Buyer beware means when you sign that contract, the minute you're done signing, you own that property. If it floods the next morning, you have no recourse to the seller.
So there's no like 30 days to get out or anything.
Have a nice day. When you collapsed last week on the floor and said, I don't like this house,
right.
I came over, handed you a pizza, and said, it's yours. Enjoy.
Tough luck, buddy.
And I don't know if you know this, but the founder of Uber has gotten into the real estate business.
Really?
The website is haus.com, house.com.
Okay.
Right now they have a pilot running in California, and it's pretty dynamic how they're setting this up. But as Dean said before, I don't ever think the realtor will be taking out of the equation because, again, you're making a large purchase, and you need that interaction.
You need the experience, you need the interaction.
And you need that assurance.
But so, I mean, do things like Zillow and everything make your job a little easier?
In the sense that they actually take control out of the process, because now it's buyers go online, they look at a house, they hit a button, and it connects them with an agent.
Right.
May not be the listing agent, but they'll connect them with an agent. So there's no continuity. What they're doing is
even to the point where once you find an agent. So I have clients who will go and every day, I'll do all of my due diligence. So until 1 o'clock in the morning, I'll be on the MLS and basically be searching for home after home after home. I have some 38, 39 clients right now, buyers. I have to find, and my job is to find them a house, right? That's what I've promised them is we're going to find you a house. We're going to find you the house that we interviewed for. We're going to find it as close as possible within the price range, etc. They're also doing the same thing,
right?
But they're looking at maybe something that I know if I would have glanced at it, I would have said wrong spot or wrong price,
right? And
your mortgage. So I have clients that say I want to be a max of $2,500 a month, and they'll be looking for $3,000 a month, and it's so difficult to be able to pull that back. And sometimes if Zillow and Trulia wasn't there, it would be a little bit easier for me to manage that with them.
And also they're looking at properties that will require flood insurance when they made the point, I don't want to buy a house that requires flood insurance.
And I'll have to check all that.
Okay.
So it's not a bad thing. That's the patience that's involved with a first-time home buyer. You're new to it. I do it every day. So a first-time home buyer, the agent for that person has to have patience, right? Has to have it's all good. I'm available. I've taken calls at 11:30 at night, and for a half an hour, 45 minutes, we chat.
Okay.
Because at a certain point, there's a stress level that if I'm, there for them and go, look, it's okay. We went through this before. This is the process. It's all good. I'm sorry we missed that house. Except it has to, you have to be available. So that's, if you don't have an agent, you want to buy something like this online, I don't think it'll ever happen.
And to summarize, when, Matt, you are in fact ready to buy a home, first thing you want to do is find the agent you like and trust. The second thing you want to do is you want to get a pre-approval to know exactly what your affordability range is.
Right.
Then you're going to set up your attorney and your home inspector, and then you go out looking at homes. Because if you go out looking at homes before you know what you can qualify for,
It's the cart before the horse.
Right. It's going to be very difficult maybe to buy something of less value.
Right.
Well, we've reached the end of this episode in the home buyer consultation. Dean, thank you so much for articulating to our listeners the importance of the home buyer consultation and why it's so important for a buyer to interview and find the right real estate agent they both like and trust. We do thank you for your valued time, your attention to detail, and professionalism in giving us, especially our audience, a very clear perspective on the importance of this consultation. Thanks, Dean.
Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it.
Well, you're very welcome. And please make sure you tune in next week as we have an in-depth conversation with a superstar real estate agent who has successfully built one of the best real estate teams in New Jersey. Our in-house guest for this episode will be Coldwell Banker's Karen Peters from the Karen Peters Group. And if you're serious about increasing your real estate business and learning from one of the industry's best, you do not want to miss this episode. Remember, leaders aspire to lead, then lead to inspire others. Thanks for listening, my friends, and stay safe.